Recording. Do 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 do. Haha, there we go. Got it. Good morning, Sheila. How's your day going so far today?
Wayne, it's really been a fun day so far. How about yourself?
I've had a blast. I really have.
Good.
And welcome everyone to 27 Minutes with Sheila and Wayne, where we talk about skills and verbs that have been learned, forgotten, misused, and or totally abandoned as we are attempting to change the world one verb at a time. Sheila, what is our verb for today?
It is a great word. One of my favorites. It is to read.
One of your favorites.
One
Ooh.
of my favorites. Yes.
Okay.
I've got a lot of stuff about this word today.
All right. I can't wait to hear.
Great.
And for our listening audience, I have a question for you. How many of you have read Frankenstein? Show of hands. My hands up.
My hands up.
Written by Mary Shelley in 1818. Here's my question. Who was Mary Shelley's mother? And I'll wait till the end to tell you. I'm sure some of you got your hands raised already because you know what the answer is, but that's okay. So Sheila, read. Why is that one of your favorite verbs? And what's the definition of read?
Well, the definition, there are two that I found. There were three that I found, and the first one had too many long words as I read it. So knowing I'd have to say it out loud, I chose one with more simple words, which is to look at words or symbols and understand what they mean. And the second definition is to discover information.
Oh,
yeah.
To discover. Yes, we had that word before. Discover. Right. Yes.
Right. So I've been learning a lot about this word, about reading.
Excellent. I have a couple other definitions as well.
I figured you might.
You know, it happens that way.
Mm-hmm.
To say the words that are written or printed, to study at university or to study for a specialized qualification, and to understand and give particular meaning to written information, a statement, or a situation.
Okay.
Which I found interesting.
Great.
So let's jump right in. Why is this one of your favorite words?
I'm a big reader, and we have a rule in our household. Everyone in our household is a big reader, and books usually are exchanged as Christmas gifts. And so the rule in our family is if you are 10 to 15 pages towards the end of the book, in the last 10 to 15 pages, dinner can be delayed.
Oh, okay.
And it doesn't matter who in the family is at that point. Oh, please, I'm almost done. Okay, all right. We'll have a cold dinner. That's okay. Because we all know how valuable those last few pages are in a great book.
You know, they are. Gosh, yep. As Paul Harvey would say, because you got to know the rest of the story.
That's an old radio show. You're right. The rest of the story.
Yes. Okay.
It can change the book.
and change the. So how many? You're a prolific reader. How many books do you read a year, you think?
Well, lately I'm on an audiobook trend, and I don't know if that counts. You being an audiobook author can tell me if that counts. But
of course it counts. Of course it counts.
Okay. All right. I love listening to audiobooks when I'm doing things around the house or when I'm in the car. So it's a couple hundred of books. Now, you and I have talked before about reading 3 different kinds of books at any one time, to have 3 going: a popular book, am I treading on your territory here? Was that something you were going to talk about?
No, but you're absolutely there on point, because I talked about a book of poetry, a bestseller, and a new book in your field of
Yes. So I loved that idea.
Okay. Well, thank you. And Tony will be happy about that, because Tony was my friend. He was the vice principal in Brussels, Belgium, at the International School of Hamburg, where I learned about that. But Tony's a good guy. He really is.
He's got some good ideas.
Tony. Yes, thanks to Tony.
So why does this word excite you?
Well, because read it's not just about words, as the last definition I shared. It says to understand and give particular meaning to written information, a statement, or a situation. And because I taught leadership for 15, 16 years for Boston University, and program management, if you will, I learned that we also can read the room. We can read individuals. We can read situations. We can read event. And so I'm going to kind of talk about those kinds of things. But that's where I was going to, and that's what excites me
Ooh,
because
right.
reading is one of those transient words, one of those words that's flexible that you can read people, you can
Mm-hmm.
read words,
That's
you can
right.
read situations. I love it. I really do. It's really kind of cool.
I do love reading people, but I didn't even go down that path. So I look forward to hearing what you have to say.
And sometimes you have to speed read people.
Well, we're going to speed talk today in order to get as much information in here.
Well,
So if
we'll go ahead. I will give the floor to you. Please go ahead as
well,
much as you
the
want.
first thing I really liked is that reading and writing are they're called the inseparable twins because
Hmm.
you can't really have one without the other. So I thought, well, when was the very first writing um, recorded? And the earliest that archaeologists have found dates back to 3400 to 3100 BC, and it's the Sumerian Archaic, which is pre-cuneiform, and Egyptian hieroglyphics. So this was near the Persian Gulf, and that's the first they've got with texts. And originally, reading or writing was for transactions and contracts and inventory. So it was business oriented, if you will.
Hmm.
And then the next statistic I found was that originally they thought writing started in one area and then expanded around the world as people traveled and merchants traveled. But now they're recognizing that there are at least four civilizations that independently developed writing and therefore reading. And those are Mesopotamia, which is the present day Iraq and parts of Iran, Egypt, China, and Mesoamerica, which is the southern part of North America down to the most of Central America.
Okay.
So they started independently of each other and went in some different directions, but that was exciting to know. And I've got more facts, but I'm going to let you talk a little bit or y'all start snoring if I keep talking.
No way. No snoring allowed.
No snoring allowed. So,
Yeah. But that's interesting. So Mesopotamia, Egypt, China, and Mesoamerica.
mhm.
Was there a commonality in the symbology or anything?
Not really, especially China was more distinctly different from some of the others. The one we really learn about more because it seems like it had a little head start was the Mesopotamia version. And in fact, I've got another really cool fact here. The first book burning recorded was, see, I said I was going to let you talk and then I took over again,
That's
was
fine.
in 213 BC. And it was a Chinese emperor, the one who's famous for the Terracotta Army, if you're familiar with that. And he ordered the burning of books to consolidate his power, especially when it came to historical books, because he didn't want anyone to compare him to previous rulers.
Really
Yes.
interesting. So burning of books. That's I think. What do we call that today? We call that censure.
Yes. Or
Is
book
that what
burning.
he was doing? Or
Yes.
book burning?
They still do that.
Okay. It's fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. And the Terracotta Army. Wow. Okay. So you're talking about the individual, the statues that were buried, right?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Life
Very.
size, some of them,
Yes.
right? Right.
Now, have you seen hieroglyphics up close and personal?
I have at different museums and copies of the Rosetta Stone, if you're familiar with that.
Ah, yes. Yes.
So,
Okay. And I remember the first time. Well, my wife and I traveled to Egypt
mhm.
just before COVID. So
Oh, good timing.
March 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th of 2020, we were coming back from Egypt. So
Whew.
we were coming back when COVID was just being announced and understood.
Mm,
But we were in Egypt, and it was really really nice and fun to see all the hieroglyphics.
I'll
And
bet.
what was amazing was I'm sure all the guides could, but they, because they studied to be guides, and so reading some of those hieroglyphics for us and teaching us some of the words, it was kind of fun. It really was. But then
Mhm.
it made me curious. Here comes that word again. It made me
Good.
curious as to who was the first person who really studied hieroglyphics and
Mm.
understood exactly what it was.
Oh, did you
And
find an answer to that question?
the answer is they're not sure.
Oh, okay.
And I have no idea why, other than they're not sure. But a lot of people have professed to be the first or what have you through the ages.
I can tell you
And
it was not me. I'm not going to claim that.
no, okay, all right,
Okay. All right.
okay, good.
Mhm.
All right. Well, okay. One of my questions that I have for us
Yes.
is or what is so important about reading? And I have the first thing I have here right off the top is because we can learn from reading,
Hmm.
but you have to have the correct books. And how do you know which is the correct book, which is the book that's right? Because
Okay.
today, back in pre-internet days, this is not going back 3100 BC, but pre-internet
Sometimes it seems like.
pre-internet days,
Okay.
we had to source our material from encyclopedias.
That's right. We had a
And
set growing up.
okay, and we did too. What's Encyclopedia Britannica? I think we had.
Okay.
Yes. Because mom and dad got that because they said you're going to need this for school.
And it's true. I looked through that for I've used that for a lot of references in papers in elementary school.
Yes, because we were taught and told that this was the encyclopedia was, this is the standard bearer that's out
Mhm.
there. So anything that's in there is good, true, factual, all this good stuff. Today we
Now
have
we know better.
yeah, right. And today we have Wikipedia and just the internet.
Mhm.
And so I think some of that quality assurance has subsided a little bit, maybe if
I would like to just put out there right now that never trust the first thing you read on the internet. Look for other resources that either back it up or contradict it, but don't ever trust just one source because anyone can put anything out there.
oh no. See, and
Sorry.
that's my number two of what is so important about reading,
Okay.
because I have learning to trust.
And
And
now I'm saying don't trust.
and I'm saying trust
Oh.
yourself in what you just said,
Okay.
doing a little bit more homework,
Okay, good. Phew.
going to other sources to see if you can verify what
Yep.
one
Good.
source has said over the
Good.
other.
We are so smart.
Well, I don't think I don't, I can't speak for you, but I can certainly speak for me. I am not smart, but that is why there are books and things out there to help me get
Same
smarter.
here. Same
But you,
here.
yes.
And
So,
sometimes I have to read them again and again because it doesn't sink in the first time.
I'm a slow reader too, and my head is not a sponge. My head's like a brick.
Right.
It it's porous only to a fractional part of the surface, and then the water kind of runs off, or the words just kind of fall off. So I have to read
Okay.
it 3 or 4 times to get the absorption.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So that's 2 for me. How about you? What's next? Because I know this is a fun word for you.
This is another fun fact. According to bookriot.com, the earliest known author of a work of literature, now we're not talking the earliest writer, but this is of a work of literature, was a woman who was an Akkadian princess and high priestess, Enheduanna. And no, I'm not saying that correctly. She wrote temple hymns in 2300 BC and signed her name, and that's why we know it was a woman.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Although the next fact is that reading was at one time an act, and in some places still is, an act of rebellion for marginalized people, including enslaved people and women.
And still today, that is
Yes.
sort of true,
Yes.
sadly.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
I won't go any further there, but sadly, that's still true today.
Right.
Okay.
That's why I
Interesting.
liked that a woman at least held that first torch. If you will.
Yes. So, okay, because let's go back to my trivia question, because
Yes.
Mary Shelley wrote
Yes.
Frankenstein. I'm not sure if many of you know, but she wrote Frankenstein when she was 18 years old.
Wow.
And it got published. She started writing at 18, and it got published when she was 20.
Mm.
However, the first edition did not have her name in it as the author.
Oh. Was that because books by men were considered to be more legitimate?
I don't know the answer.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know the answer.
Well, see, I've just given
wish
my
I
own
did.
bias.
But the second edition, or the
Mhm.
second printing, which came out in 1821, her name was in it as the author.
Okay.
And so I thought like you did. I thought, is this because she's a woman? And then I'm thinking, okay, then why didn't she take a pseudonym?
Oh, right. Right.
But maybe I don't know. So
I
it
don't know.
was interesting to me for
I
that fact.
might read up more about that.
All right. Another thing that I said, what is so important about reading? You can journey without leaving.
So true.
We can go to the Alps, to the Australian Alps. We can go
Yes.
to Mesopotamia. We can go to anywhere in a book and get lost and be in our own living room, our own bedroom.
Have you ever found that the scene or the person from a book that you read is so different from what a movie of that book represents that it's not even the same, that it's a disappointment, shall we say?
Sometimes I have.
Yeah.
And I think I used to sleep through history class because, I found history in early school age was boring until I joined the military.
Oh,
I joined the military, and one of the places I went, I was walking down this cobblestone road, and I go, "Wow, it's cobblestone road." And I go, "Oh, look at the shore. Oh, look at the sea line. Oh, look at this. Look at the huts." And then I started thinking, "Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait. I read something about this. It was
oh,
this guy and a fish."
Old Man in the Sea.
The Old Man in the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. Exactly. So I went to the library that day and got the book and started, because that's where he
Oh,
walked. That's where he
oh,
walked. And I thought, how cool is this? And all of a sudden, history became important to me.
wow.
I started to say, well, what else don't I know
Oh, my goodness.
that I stepped through?
Right.
Yes. So next, you go ahead. Fun
I'm
stuff.
going to
Fun stuff.
throw in one of the biggest libraries recorded was the Library of Alexandria. And can you guess how they got so many books for their library? Okay, I'll tell you.
Okay, tell me. I can't guess.
Any ship that came in had to turn over all the books they had on their ship to the library.
Really?
Yes. And
A
maybe they
tariff.
were lending them, maybe not.
So a tariff.
Yes. Yeah.
One of the
Yeah.
first tariffs. Okay, books.
Right.
Wow.
Books. Yep.
And what happened if they didn't have any books?
Well,
Did they
nothing.
sink? Did they sink the ship or
They
send it
weren't
back?
required to bring books, but if they had them, they were taken.
They were
Obviously, not the captain's log.
okay. Okay. Well, but that's interesting. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And another thing that goes with that is that it wasn't until the 9th century that libraries were considered quiet places because very few people knew how to read. So people read out loud to each other. And so libraries were kind of noisy.
Ah.
Right.
All right. And so when did we have, because I know I grew up in library times where libraries were exactly
Right.
exactly.
Yep.
When did we pick up that practice? Do you know?
That was about the 9th century. Yeah.
About the 9th century. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's
All
starting
right.
in monastic libraries because that's what was available then, at least in the Western culture.
And I walk into libraries today and it's not like that.
No, it
I,
is. Oh, it's
I
not.
hear
It's loud again.
I hear music. I hear people
Oh,
talking, at
libraries
high
in
whisper.
our community have become like community centers, haven't they?
They sort of have, yes.
They kind of redefine themselves as time goes by in I think a very good way.
Because I know there are a lot of tutors who go to libraries because it's a public space
Mm-hmm.
and they tutor individuals, kids,
Mm-hmm.
in math and science and
Oh,
English.
nice,
And so
nice.
there's a lot of verbiage going back and forth there. But yeah, I walk into libraries and it's not the hush hush place that I have known from times past.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, that's cool. I know I've been to many seminars on from organizations like Foundation Fighting Blindness and things like that at libraries. They often have a meeting room for things like that, which is lovely.
Yes. And when I was a surgical technician,
Mm.
I used to go to libraries to pull out medical books and journals on some of the operations that I was assisting on, just to see again um, what I didn't know, what I could do better,
Mm-hmm.
and what I could know
Mm-hmm.
more about what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
so that when the doc needed help, I was right there with the right instrument or the right thing that he or she needed to complete the surgical procedure, and I knew why they were doing it. That was the most important thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Because then you can change mid-stride because you know what the goal is.
Yes, and sometimes sometimes the doc would put her or his hand out and ask for a particular instrument, but because I'm watching what they're doing, my head's in, as we were taught, put your head in the wound. My head's in the open space. I'm looking at what they're doing. I know exactly what they need, and they're asking for the wrong piece because it just rolled off their tongue. And I hit them with the right piece, and I say hit because we were kind of taught to not just gingerly give the instrument, but you hit it with their hand, so that their hand starts to close immediately. And I remember a couple of times the doc would look at me and go, okay, that's not what I asked for, but you're right. This is what I need. Give me what I need, not what I asked for. You're right. And and it was kind of fun. And that was because I did much more learning about what we were doing, why we were doing it. And so I was in lockstep with the docs, and gosh, it was fun. It was cool.
It's funny when you look at someone who's reading, it looks like such a passive activity. But as you describe your process, it's a very active activity because you're memorizing, you're picturing, you're preparing yourself for that moment when you are needed in the surgical room.
See, I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we do not share our outlines with each other. We're miles away. we're looking at a Skype screen that's just video, just audio, not video. Right. And I swear Sheila has looked at my paper because I have one of the other what is so important about reading. It delights the curious mind. And I say delights the curious mind because as I read sometimes, I have to get up, leave the book where I am, open it up, leave it where it is, and I go grab 2 or 3 other books because they're referencing other things. And I go, oh, well, what was that? I need to learn about that before I can continue reading this. And so I'll have about 4 or 5 or 6 different books, and they could be totally different day and night from each other. And people go, what are you reading? Because it's not the same books. I go, oh man, I've just learned so much things about this and this and this. And did you know? And they're like, okay, we're sorry we're asked. We got to go. Okay.
Yeah. But, my mother-in-law used to say about me that there are 2 doors to heaven. One of them says to heaven, and the other one says how to get to heaven. And she said, Sheila will always select the second door.
How to get there.
The hows and the whys.
Okay. But enough about me. You have to, you said I don't want you to speak fast. So continue, please. We're going at your one word.
This is a statistic that you will love.
Okay.
Henry Miller and Marcel Proust were 2 of the first people who first identified in the 14th century. Well, they weren't in the 14th century, but it was first mentioned in the 14th century. Okay, I need to start this over. In the 14th century, what was proposed is that reading in the bathroom was a good idea. And Henry Miller and Marcel Proust both said that was their favorite place to read.
Oh.
So it's an important enough statistic that I needed to repeat that in a way that was more clear.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You are very welcome. Yes.
Okay. Earlier, I talked about where I was going, looking at the word read, to understand and give particular meaning to written information, a statement, or a situation. Because I taught, because I get in front of crowds or groups or large amounts of individuals, I have learned over time, and I still get it wrong sometimes, so please don't think that I'm the expert by any stretch of the imagination. But I have learned sometimes how to quickly read the room.
Yeah.
All the individuals that are in there. And I was taught that, not taught, but I was, excuse me, I was told being a speaker is almost like being a conductor of a musical concert, orchestra. It was a she. She told me, you've got to know that everyone is one on the same wavelength as you, not the same page, but the same wavelength. you've got to look at them and see if they're excited, if they're happy, if they're sad, if they're mad, if they're disgusted, curious, or whatever. But you've got to quickly realize and grasp that and grab as many of them as you can with your hand gestures, much like you're, again, conducting the orchestra with your hand gestures, so that people can see activity, so they can see, because people hear things in many different ways. And I said, wow. So I took that and I kind of, I still practice, I still learn it. And so again, as I have said before, if you ever see me at a presentation, I am not one to stand behind a podium.
That is true.
If you nail my feet to the floor, I can't talk. I'm just, okay. I'll just say, hi, I'm Wayne, and thanks for coming, and I'm ready to go.
It was really nice seeing you.
Right. Yes. But because I'm all around the auditorium, I'm all around the room, I'm all around the crowd, I'm sitting behind them, beside them, standing up in front of them, I'm shaking their hands, I'm giving them high fives. You got to read the room, and you've got to get the room encouraged and on the same, again, path as you, so that the presentation could be much more fulfilled for all of us. Because if I see questions in their faces, I'm going to ask, okay, what did I miss? What are you not understanding? Can you help me understand where you are so that I can bring you to the rest of the group? But I digress. 26 minutes and 4 seconds.
Okay. Here is a statistic that's not so happy about reading, and that is the National Assessment of Educational Progress reading test in the United States reflected recently that 33% of American fourth graders are below the basic level of reading. So we're missing out on a population of young readers. We're disadvantaging them by not addressing that at a younger age.
Sad.
Did you read to your son when he was little?
We did, and we told him stories. But we read to him, and we read, and he was of the young age when Harry Potter came out.
Oh, yes.
Harry Potter series. Yep. So he read all those books at age 9, 10, 11, 12. So reading was in his venue, and he continues to read to this day, which we find
great,
refreshing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Okay, Sheila, what's the answer to your trivia question?
Did I give a trivia question?
Did you give one?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Can I give you mine?
The answer is B. B is the answer.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. How to? All right. So my trivia question was, who was Mary Shelley's mother? Her name was another Mary Wollstonecraft. Mary Wollstonecraft, who was the author of A Vindication of the Rights of Women in 1792.
Oh.
So Wollstonecraft, and I'm sorry for obliterating that word, but it was pretty fun because when I read about her, Wollstonecraft, our professor said, oh, and by the way, do you know who her daughter is? And we go, yeah, Wollstonecraft somebody, right? And she says, no, her married name was Shelley, but she was the author of Frankenstein. I'm like, really? Wow.
You don't think of that as a female author type of book.
No, you don't. So, Sheila, we have 28 on the clock, and I know we can get under 27 with if I take off the thing. So would you please take us home?
Well, we just love having you. Listen to us, Wayne. Can you tell us how to reach you?
Sure. www.mindsyncing.com. Email wayne@mindsyncing.com. And you, Sheila?
zekeandsheila.com is my website, and there's a link for the email on that page.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks
had fun today. Thank you.
Me too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.